absolute separation, doctrine of separation of powers. In also pushing this bill, simply giving wishes to the wishes of Kenyans, whom we represent here, and as it's emblazoned here, we stay here for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. So we are giving effect to the wishes of Kenyans. Article 10 of the Constitution gives national values, and one of the national values is inclusion, equity, public participation. This bill, Honorable Speaker, we took it to the counties, all the 290 constituencies, and 98% of the Kenyans said we needed to entrench this bill, this fund into the Constitution, so that the naysayers can be given a break from taking this assembly and the board to the court each and every time over this particular bill. So we are giving basically effect to public participation, which is a national value. We are giving effect equally to equity, because all the 290 constituencies are beneficiaries of the NGCDF. And therefore, there is no constituency or there's no part of Kenya that is actually excluded from getting funds on account of NGCDF. So we are giving effect to inclusivity and ensuring that there is accountability. One of the critical things in this particular fund is that there is public participation at the grassroots. You remember, Madam Speaker, we used to have the focus on rural development, which failed during the Moi era. This fund is the only fund in which public participation is conducted at the rural level, at the grassroots level, and people give their views on the kind of development which they want to have. So it is a fund that really, Madam Speaker, we need to entrench up to give effect to the wishes of the Kenyan people who have elected us to be in this particular parliament. Honorable Speaker, there have been two agencies that have been fighting this fund, specifically the Council of Governors and the civil society. They have taken many matters to court in which we have been able to participate in. And their argument has been that we want to create a third level of funds, that there are only two levels of funds, of disbursement of government funds. That is the national government and the county government. We need to disabuse that particular notion that the funds that are allocated to go towards NGCDF are not from county funds allocated to the county governments, but are funds that are basically allocated to do national functions. And the NGCDF funds are basically only doing national government functions and not county government, and therefore there is totally no overlap at all. There has also been a misnomer, Honorable Speaker, that these funds are like loose change and pocket money for members of parliament. That is not true. Members of parliament are far way removed. This fund is domiciled in the treasury. There is a board that manages it, and there are CDF committees at the constituency level, up to the PMC level in each of the constituencies. So this fund is not people who have sent us here to represent them. As the public participation process clearly indicated that 98% of the Kenyans wanted entrenchment of these funds in the Constitution. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this constitutional amendment and urge my colleagues to stand up to be counted and vote for this constitutional amendment that assists not only the poorest people, but it cuts across the entire Kenya, that assists both the underdeveloped and developed areas, so that we can have equity in our national development ethos as we move on as a country. Madam Speaker, I support this constitutional amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Bomachoge, Borabu, Nolfason, Barongo. Mheshimiwa Nolfason, Barongo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for affording me this opportunity to also contribute in support of this constitutional amendment to ensure that we secure the gains that we have made as a country in terms of development. Madam Speaker, last year, I had the good fortune of attending the 20th anniversary of the Constituency Development Fund. To understand why this fund is very important and must be now entrenched in the Constitution, we listened to a tale by the former member of parliament for Olkalau, Honorable Muriuki Karue, who got frustrated trying to get development for his constituency. And every time he went to the treasury, he was told that his constituency will get development when the funds became available. His frustrations were arising from the fact that in his constituency, students were learning under trees. And today, Madam Speaker, there are in so many constituencies, schools that have dilapidated toilets, and some of these schools are threatened by devolved units of closure because they do not have decent toilets. Madam Speaker, if we do away with CDF, Harambes will be back in full swing. We will now be required to conduct Harambes to be able to educate children, which is against the spirit of the Constitution in Article 43, where every Kenyan has a right to education, and also Article 53, where every child has a right to access free education and that education should be compulsory. Madam Speaker, why should we take the responsibility of educating our children back to the public? The public right now is stretched financially. We are struggling, the Kenyans are struggling to put food on their table. It will be the wrong time, Madam Speaker, to take away this fund, because this fund has subsidized education for their children and assures their children of a better future. Madam Speaker, if we take away this fund, most of the ills that have bedeviled this country will be back. We will be back to making sure that we will be back to politicizing basic services for Mwananchi. Madam Speaker, the process of engaging public in determining what is their priority projects in their constituencies is a constitutional requirement. And the current NGCDF, as constituted, has been ensuring that the public have a say in what are the priority projects that have to be undertaken in their constituencies. Madam Speaker, I think the public spoke emphatically by giving their views on what needs to be done going forward. The courts have announced their position that this CDF is currently unconstitutional, and it is upon this House now to make a decision to correct. Madam Speaker, for these reasons, I support this amendment.
Thank you. Member for Nthiwa, Honorable Martin Owino.
Equally appreciative, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to say to our friends, the mover, Senior Counsel Tinda Molo, Chepkonga, and also the second, Sir George Murangara. Madam Speaker, there's no one who is saying that CDF does not work. National government CDF works. What we want to do here is to protect what is working for Kenyans, to remain working for Kenyans, and to lock out these busybodies who keep on going to the courts all the time. Madam Speaker, just speaking from my own constituency, and I know it's the same. If I go to Mary Maingi, constituency is the same. Cynthia, the same. Wherever we go, Matthias here is the same. You will see CDF in action and what CDF does. Madam Speaker, in Nthiwa, where I have 204 schools, 152 primary and 52 secondary schools. Without CDF, before that, children were just sitting in a classroom learning and seeing goats grazing outside. And that is across the nation. Now that has changed because we are building classrooms. We are reducing population in classrooms. Where children used to have 80 in a class, now they are halved. So children are performing better because of CDF. I have testimonies where others have completed their high school and completed colleges. They are back in the community, some as lawyers, some as engineers, giving back to the community. Where in those areas, children would have dropped. Teenage pregnancies are reduced because of sustaining kids in school, because education is an equalizer in all this. What I wonder, and I ask our colleagues to think about, we appropriate money to Ministry of Education. It's the second, actually, in that peg. But you don't see what that money does on the ground, including infrastructure, which is supported even internationally. So, I speak on behalf of the people of Ndewa. Classrooms are decongested, laboratories are built, so we can compete with schools like Alliance and everybody. Water, provisions, environment, even sports. I don't know why sports were removed, Madam Speaker. Even sports, people were very active in our constituencies because we were driving the sports as well. Madam Speaker, when we talk of national ethos, and another member have alluded to it here, when we talk of value for money, equity, inclusivity, emergency responses, that is the heart of CDF. Notwithstanding, other people, other devolved units are there, but they're not responding even to emergencies. Now we are even pushed to be responding to toilets as emergencies, which should not be the case. What happened with the capitation we give the ministries? Where do they take their money? So mine is to protect what is working and entrench this into the Constitution. In fact, if we were to rewrite the Constitution, this is the most important decentralized fund in 290 constituency. We would have not even thought of having 47 counties. Those monies would have been channeled through this, and you would see the impact it would have done in these areas. Lastly, entrenching this into the Constitution will cure what we call oxymoronism of leadership, where you say one thing and you do the other. What CDF does is seen. And because it is people's driven, public participation is a must, approval system is up to the board, and even in this house we have a committee that oversees that board. So the whole system should be replicated in other areas of activities. If those who are jealous of its functionality, I think what they should do is to copy what CDF does. Without belaboring on the obvious, allow me to say I support this. And members, if where representation is needed this afternoon, it is in this house. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Cynthia Muge, member for Nandi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this very important motion on the floor of the House. I appreciate the Honorable Otienda Omolo and the Honorable Chepkonga for the very thoughtful time and sentiments they have been able to put together into this bill, so that finally, Honorable Speaker, the CDF, the NGAF, and the newly added Senate Oversight Fund, Honorable Speaker, can finally be entrenched in the Constitution. CDF and NGAF, Honorable Speaker, for so many years has been facing a lot of legal challenges. And this is an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, for us to be able to ensure that those legal challenges finally go away, Honorable Speaker. And we also deal with the ambiguity, Honorable Speaker, and we also have to make sure that the people understand the structures of CDF and NGAF. Honorable Speaker, it has come to my attention that many people, even the beneficiaries of NGAF and the CDF, Honorable Speaker, do not understand how the structure works. And Honorable Speaker, that is why you hear members, especially the patrons of NGCDF, Honorable Speaker, saying that students text them on their phones. Honorable Speaker, I think it's also high time that the people in this country and the beneficiaries and those people that run institutions and organizations, Honorable Speaker, understand how structures work. The NGCDF, Honorable Speaker, and GAF have a structure. And just to speak to GAF, Honorable Speaker, I wish the people knew that there's a structure that runs GAF. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to say this. The people who have attached GAF and NGCDF to members are not the members themselves, Honorable Speaker. They are the people outside there. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the structure, there is nowhere the member of parliament who is a patron of NGCDF comes into the running of the operations of NGCDF. Honorable Speaker, same to GAF. Myself, as a member of parliament, Honorable Speaker, being a woman rep, I do not run GAF. I am just a patron. I am just an oversight authority for GAF. I make sure that all the monies that have been allocated for GAF are actually used for that purpose. I ensure, Honorable Speaker, that the percentages that have been allocated for women economic empowerment, Honorable Speaker, are used for that particular purpose. The money that has been ring-fenced, Honorable Speaker, for bursaries and scholarships, Honorable Speaker, are used for that particular purpose. And Honorable Speaker, I must say that I am in full support of entrenchment of GAF and NGCDF because the importance of those two funds, Honorable Speaker, cannot be gainsaid. Honorable Speaker, before GAF came in and before NGCDF came in, for instance, my county, Honorable Speaker, there were no direct empowerment projects that go to the people. But with GAF, Honorable Speaker, that needs to be entrenched in this constitution, Honorable Speaker, we now have members of the community, the women, the youth, the person living with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups able to access funds, Honorable Speaker, for empowerment. You find groups, Honorable Speaker, in the villages. A group like the Momba Boda Boda group in Tindred, Honorable Speaker, they have 300,000 shillings, Honorable Speaker, that they can use to better their operations as people who operate in the Boda Boda. Honorable Speaker, the Oasis Women Group in Kabiet now, Honorable Speaker, they have the capacity to be able to run their businesses, to be able to have money to invest in business, to be able to get income, and to be able to have money in their pockets, Honorable Speaker. Courtesy of this same GAF, Honorable Speaker, today, Nandi County is boasting of more than 700,000 seedlings of kahawa that have been given out under the Mama na Kahawa program in Nandi County Honorable Speaker. That program, Honorable Speaker, in the next 3 years, you will be able to see proper fruits. You will be able to see lesser people going to the NGCDF offices, going into the GAF offices to look for funds because they can be able to run they can be able to pay their school fees, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is equity that we have always looked for and that we have always asked that we see it in every aspect of this life. Honorable Speaker, I cannot even give adequate accolades to NGCDF. For me to be here today, Honorable Speaker, I am a product of NGCDF. I got bursary from the office, Gwen office, then Honorable Speaker, in 2013, in 2012. And I appreciate what NGCDF has done to me and to other vulnerable children who needed and require education. Honorable Speaker, when you walk around the constituencies that we come from, you will be able to tell where you are courtesy of a branding that has been done under NGCDF. You will know whether you are in Mgwen, you will know whether you are in Likuyani, you will know whether you are in Sambweni, you will know where you are, courtesy of projects that have been done by NGCDF. And Honorable Speaker, I am in total support of this entrenchment so that, Honorable Speaker, these funds can continue giving services to the people, these funds can continue being important to the people of Kenya. And Honorable Speaker, we are not doing this because we are members of parliament today. I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, that in 2027, September, during the swearing in, I will not be in this house. But NGCDF and GAF must be in this house, Honorable Speaker, so that it can be able to serve the people of Kenya post me and you who are sitting in this house, Honorable Speaker. So we are not doing this, Honorable Speaker, for us. We are doing it for the people of Kenya. We are doing it for the children of Kenya. We are doing it for the women of Kenya. We are doing it for the youth of Kenya. We are doing it for the PWDs of Kenya, Honorable Speaker, so that this fund, Honorable Speaker, can live beyond any member and any person who gets an opportunity to sit in this house. So, Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, I support the entrenchment of NGCDF, of NGAF and Senate Oversight Fund to the Constitution of Kenya so that we can stop running battles in courts with the people who like going to court, Honorable Speaker, and deliver the services to the people of Kenya. I support, Honorable Speaker.
CDF Committee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to give my views and support the entrenchment of the Constitution of the NGCDF and GAF, and also the Senate Oversight Fund. Madam Speaker, first I would like to thank the Honorable Muriuki Karue, who did a good job. I was in this house, Madam Speaker, at that time. And before, there was nothing else people were doing in the rural areas. They were busy selling their cows and selling their produce to build schools. Schools were built exclusively by the parents who had children in school, and also well-wishers, Madam Speaker. But currently, with what has happened is a transformation of this country. We have lessened the burdens of the public through the provision of funds which are people-driven. The committees which have been set aside in and gazetted by the Attorney General are going to work tirelessly to make sure that the fund is managed and given the priority of the people of what they need. Madam Speaker, this fund is an equalizer to all. It makes those who are poor be able to take their children to school. It makes development equitable, no matter what kind of government is there. Even a dictatorial government with the existence of CDF, which can decide that there will be no money to a certain area based on political support, CDF will equalize. And everybody will be able to feel what they are paying in terms of taxes. Madam Speaker, we also want this, the funds to be entrenched, because we have had serious litigants in this country. I want to say for sure, Kenya has evolved into a very serious democratic country, never seen even in Africa, because everybody has a right to challenge whatever is done in this house. They go to court. They are also allowed to run in the street and they declare or give what they want what they require. So doing this is the right thing so that we are able to shield this fund from being destroyed by litigants and others who do not wish other people well. Madam Speaker, if you compare what the NGCDF is doing in the constituencies, and you compare what the county governments are doing in the various areas, if you compare the schools built by CDF, the county government have only one responsibility in education, to build the ECD classes. And there are only 2 in every primary school. Madam Speaker, we are going to almost, after the enactment of the Constitution, to have the counties. We are in the 12th year or so. And in fact, the governors have not finished even building the nursery schools, only 2 classes. When in the CDF, the boards and the CDFCs who are there in the constituencies have been able to build classes, numbers. They are almost done with them. So, Madam Speaker, we need to support the enactment and the entrenchment of this constitution so that we are able to support. I wish we had brought in the ward fund so that we can be able to remove some amount of money from the county government and give to the ward representatives so that there will be a management system which is there in the ward so that we see development on the ground. But here, since we have not been able to get it in this time, I hope members can think about it so that we can have a ward fund as part of the entrenched fund which is required, which we get money from the counties. Madam Speaker, when you look at the counties' money which they are given, 400+ billion, and you compare with what the CDFCs in every constituency get, almost a total of about 54 billion. It is just like day and night. And that is why at the end of every term of a member of or the governors, they usually pass through court to be washed before they go home. So we do not know how we are going to protect the money of Kenyans from being misused. Madam Speaker, the reforms which will be required in these two funds after the entrenchment, I wish that members should think about how we shall have to give real strict rules and regulations and the act itself to the board so that they can be able to manage the fund effectively. If we are going to have if we entrench this, we need to think about what do we want to make sure that these two funds or the three funds are going to go through so that we are able to make it perfect and out of the litigation area. Madam Speaker, we want to say to make Kenyans live better, to make Kenyans have their children go to school, to make development of even the women community in this country and all other disabilities, the only solution is the NGCDF and the GAF, and therefore I wish to support that we do entrench these funds into the Constitution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Wajir West, Honorable Yusuf Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to support the entrenchment of NGCDF, GAF, into the Constitution. Madam Speaker, Kenyans have spoken. We have done public participation everywhere in this country. And Kenyans have overwhelmingly supported this bill. That clearly shows the trust the people of Kenya have in NGCDF and the GAF. But Madam Speaker, I don't want to put myself or go to debate with governors who are claiming these specific funds to be abolished or taken off from the records. I want to tell those governors, even if this money today is taken back by the national government, it will not come to the county governments. Why? Because NGCDF functions are very clear and distinct. NGCDF and GAF are doing what the national government functions are, specifically education, security, energy, and the rest. My question is, if these funds are abolished, where will the governors and the county government get money to fund the gap? If they're able to do it, they could have done it now. Education is not devolved function, and security is not a devolved function. Madam Speaker, the people who are advocating for the removal of this fund are people who do not understand what the person at the grassroots level feels about it. These are people who are able to pay the school fees of their kids, are able to pay the school fees of their kids, who are able to educate their children, who are able to do other things that NGCDF is doing for the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, as much as we argue whether we entrench or not, we need to understand the following. One, Madam Speaker, are these funds meant for specific members of parliament? Are the funds being used by members of parliament for their own gains? We all know these funds are used for a specific purpose by a board. The members of parliament are doing their oversight role, which is to confirm and make sure that money are used appropriately and the right way that is required by law. But this notion, Madam Speaker, of some members or Kenyans believe that these funds are used by members of parliament is not here, not there. And I say so. And if I may say, it's hot air. They know, but they're doing it because they don't want these funds to go to the village, at the village level. Madam Speaker, today if we say we abolish these funds, what will happen to the people of Wajir West? What will happen to the schools of the remotest place in this country? The schools that cannot get any infrastructure development from national government since inception, Madam Speaker. And their only source of funding was NGCDF, Madam Speaker. There is no school in Wajir West that was not either built, equipped by CDF, Madam Speaker. That clearly shows this money is doing exactly what the national government and the county government, the two levels of government, were supposed to do, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it will be very unfair to the people of Wajir West if these funds are removed, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the people of Wajir West, Madam Speaker, I want to put on records that these funds should be entrenched in the Constitution, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have seen some busybodies, I say so, who are always running to the courts to challenge whatever is good for this country, Madam Speaker. It is unfortunate that even those who are at the corridor of justice or courts to challenge the legality of these funds, Madam Speaker, are coming to members of parliament or going to the CDF board or CDF committee to request for bursaries, Madam Speaker, including the judges, Madam Speaker. They go to the CDF committee of their constituency to request for funds. And in that same place, they are here judging against the legality of these funds, Madam Speaker. Everybody knows, Madam Speaker, whether these funds are supporting the people of Kenya properly or not. what we need as a house. I can see members of parliament are not around today. I want to urge everybody to come so that we get to third. To third. Most of the members of parliament should come and vote. Madam Speaker, I withdraw before.
Honorable Beatrice Kemei, what is out of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is it in order for the honorable member to say that members of parliament are not in this house? They are not here. And we are all here, Honorable Speaker. Let him debate on what he wants to say, but not to say that we are not here.
Honorable Mohammed has already corrected, and I think what what you mean is that we must attain 2:33 in the afternoon.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we must attain to third 2:33 today so that we entrench this into the Constitution, Madam Speaker. If we are serious about this bill, if we are serious about the people of Kenya, if we are serious about children, our children, we must entrench this bill into the Constitution, Madam Speaker. With those few remarks, I support the bill, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving me.
Honorable member for Nairobi, Honorable Pasaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the bill on entrenching NGCDF, GAF, and creating an oversight Senate fund as well. Madam Speaker, the first thing I have to say is, first of all, I regret what happened in Nairobi County and across the country yesterday. What was supposed to be a peaceful demonstration was not peaceful. Lots of people ended up losing their lives. So many others were injured. And on top of it, a lot of people lost property. And Nairobi came to a standstill, as did many other parts of the country. And I want to appeal to the civil society organizations and all those that have good, huge followings on social media, that we have only one country. And if we do not respect that we have only one country and the situation that this country finds itself right now, with heightened unemployment, with limited budgets to fulfill the needs of the entire country, you know, just coming out and calling and, you know, thinking it's a beautiful selfie moment, let's undermine the police service and expect them to serve us. Seeing a policewoman get brutally kicked by the public, seeing another policeman get attacked. I'm not saying that what the police did in terms of exercising, you know, not exercising restraint and shooting innocent participants in the demonstrations. What I want to say is, when you push the police to the limits that we are pushing them, knowing that there's one policeman for 500, and when we threaten their own safety, then we are also asking for trouble. And I believe that everybody yesterday is culpable. It's not just the police that shot. Those who also called for these demonstrations and funded them and caused the mayhem that they did. Because if it's peaceful demonstrations, then no county will be on shutdown. But a lot of the country came on shutdown yesterday. When you say that you're having peaceful demonstrations for memorials, and then you end up saying you want to occupy State House, and that is where you're going, then you're actually looking to overthrow a government, and that cannot be allowed. We have to understand that we have one country, and we have to work together. We're in a bad place in terms of the economy, and the president is trying as much as possible to get us back on track as a country, but the opposition is taking advantage and trying to misuse poverty, trying to divide us on tribal lines, and trying to cause mayhem. The lives that were lost is not blood on the police hands. It's blood on the politicians that funded this. It is blood on the civil society movements. And I also want to talk to Kenya Law Society. You know, you're the law society, not just for the civil society. You're the law society for the entire country. You're the law society for that woman who lost her shop. You're the law society for that mother who lost her child. You're the law society for the many policemen that were also injured. So I really say that, you know, this country needs to take a break and focus on allowing the government to do the job that it wants to do. It's like they want to undermine the government so that they can actually move in, but that's not the way to win an election. Tell the public what you're going to do for them. Show them by example what you're going to do for them. Before I became an elected woman, leader of parliament, I was already a leader. I had already done the projects of Adopt a Light. I was already employing deaf people. What are you doing? You came out of government, you want to get into government, and you're promising things. We have a former Chief Justice who's also trying to do that. So for me, I really feel that we need to focus on ensuring that we have peace in this country.
Honorable Bensouda, what is out of order?
Don't tell me to sit. We are legislators. We need
Honorable
to be on the right
Bensouda,
track.
address the speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm sorry I withdraw. What I wanted to ask, is it in order? We are debating NGCDF GAF, but I'm hearing very, very fundamental contribution on police brutality and any other issue that we should do. Could the contributor, the honorable member for from Nairobi County, explain whether that is related to enshrining NGCDF GAF into the Constitution? Thank you.
Honorable Passaris, by the standing orders, you will maintain relevance to the debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But I cannot be ignorant of what happened in my county yesterday and in the country at large. As legislators and representatives of the people, it will be amiss on me not to offer condolences to all the people that have lost their loved ones and continue to lose their loved ones because civil society cannot hold itself and its horses, and the political wing is also trying to undermine the country. Madam Speaker, as I stand here, I speak as a patron of GAF. I have seen all these funds, GAF and NGCDF, being riddled with many, many court battles. And the thing is, nobody wants to understand the impact that these funds have on the society. When you look at NGCDF, the first time I came to know what was NGCDF when I got into Parliament was when the late Honorable Ken Okoth called me to Kibra and showed me we were opening a school that was funded by NGCDF. It was not him that funded it. It was not Kibra, Ken Okoth, who funded it. It was him, and him as the MP ensuring that the fund that was provided for Kibra was actually doing the job that it's supposed to be done, and making sure that the direction and the standards he's giving and guidance. But the fund was actually being oversighted by committee members appointed and an NGCDF board member. So they were the ones who took and owned the project. But him as the area MP would give leadership. For instance, I am the patron of GAF. GAF receives a lot of money, for Constituency Development Fund. GAF receives a lot of money in terms of various votes. One of the votes that we have is county-wide vote. And in the county-wide vote, when we realized that the committee members came and said, we have a problem with SGBV, we actually decided to save the money, look for the land, and we're putting up the first county-owned safe house and shelter in Nairobi County. That would not have been done if we just said that we leave everything to the governors and the executive. Nobody had thought of building a safe house in Nairobi. And I've seen a number of women reps also deal with safe houses, deal with rehab centers. So there are gaps and there are voids. And those gaps and voids are being filled with these funds. We also have a situation where, for instance, during COVID, we had Mama Fuas come to us and say, you know what, now we can't go into people's houses to wash clothes because of COVID. And our businesses are going down. This is how we raise our money. GAF together, the committee sat together and said, why don't we create stations for them to be able to operate? So we put in washing machines, dryers, and in terms of police stations. I've seen police stations funded. I've seen police stations funded. I mean, when you go to Ruaraka, when you go to Ruaraka, Honorable TJ Kajwang has put a police station. These are gaps. We even had the judiciary once. I really hope that we will be able to entrench this into law, and I hope that GAF can also be apportioned to a percentage, like NGCDF. So as the economy grows, GAF fund grows. It cannot be a standard blanket 3 billion. It has to be entrenched into law so that we can be able to grow as the economy grows. So I stand here and I support all these funds so that we can be able to effectively deliver what we've been delivering to the grassroots in real time as it's required through the various structures that have been put in place, where I am just a patron, the MP is just a patron, the MP is just a patron, and we can be able to ensure that our people are served very well.
Especially in my constituency where I come from, in Nambale. We have many schools that have been constructed, new schools that have been brought up using NGCDF. And Madam Speaker, you know that Article 53 guarantees the Kenyan children free basic education. How do you achieve this? It will not be achievable, Madam Speaker, if our children are covering a distance of 2-3 kilometers to go and come back from school. And Madam Speaker, in Nambale constituency, we have earmarked 6 new schools. To achieve this, the only fund that can help the people of Nambale is the NGCDF, that through the national government, we can have the funds available to have these new schools and have our children accessing schools near by their homes. And Madam Speaker, even the judges that sit in these courts and decide on these particular cases, they are products that who came through the schools that most of them came through government schools. But considering the current times, we cannot have that the modern children covering a distance of 3 kilometers to attend school. And that's why we are saying that we should have a fund whereby we reduce this particular coverage for our children, so that the CDF is a pocket change for the members of parliament. CDF is a pocket change for the members of parliament.